Abortion happens every day. Millions of people around the world will have an abortion each year, but the majority of those people will never talk about their abortion experiences. What if millions of people broke their silence and told the truth about their lives and their choices? This is Melissa Madera in Granville, Ohio, and you're listening to the Abortion Diary podcast. These are the stories we share.
So my first abortion happened in Kansas City, and I was very young, freshman in college, and I had like a pretty steady boyfriend at the time, and of course we were having lots of sex because we were really young, and well, things happen, I get pregnant. But what's like one thing is I didn't notice I was pregnant for a while. So it like I do remember like someone mentioned that like my boobs looked really big. And then she had had an abortion before, and then her eyes like got teary, and she was looking at me and she was like, "Are you pregnant?" Like she just immediately could sense that I was pregnant, and then just her personal background with it like just showed up on her face right away. And then because I was in college, I was busy, I wasn't thinking about these things. And then that's when I realized it. So it was like after Christmas. It was when I had gotten back after going home for Christmas and came back, and so then I was like, I guess maybe I don't know. So then I went and got the test, pregnant. So, but at the time, the person that I was dating, like to me, it was like, I'm getting an abortion. Like there was no moment where I thought at all that I was going to not get an abortion. It was super clear that I was going to get an abortion. And then Tim was like, okay, fine. But it was like $400. We had to come up with the money, didn't have any money. So we came up with the money. And then I remember we didn't have a car, so we had to walk. But it was probably like, it was a good walk, like 5 miles, 6 miles or something to the abortion clinic. And we didn't have any money or cars or anything. And I never told anybody in my family. And so we scraped together the money. And then I feel like we had set the appointment to do it. And then he went with me, and so we walked there, and we walked back after it. So that was really bad, because then a whole bunch of other things happened because of that. But like, because I didn't have any money, and I didn't even have money to live in the dorms, so I was one of the only people that lived. I had an apartment at the time, and so with some roommates. But so we went to get this abortion, and I was really scared. And like the things that I really like, I remember that made me feel less bad about it was that there was some like older woman in there getting an abortion, and she was just like, yeah, I have like 5 kids, I cannot have another kid. And she was super casual about it. And I just remember like just being like, that wow, like I didn't even think older people had abortion. Like, you know, you just don't think about like the different situations why someone would have an abortion. And at that time I did not know that my grandma had had an abortion, like just because she only didn't want more than 2 kids, and so she just had an abortion. So then that kind of made me relax, but I was like super freaked out, like I just like kind of remember just being like really completely freaked out about it. And what was so awesome, like I just really like almost have wanted to write them a letter, but I don't even remember where the clinic was. And but during the procedure, the nurses or whoever they were just like talking really loudly about stupid stuff. Like they were doing it, and they could tell, like I'm sure they could tell I was like completely and utterly freaked out. And they were just like shooting the shit, kind of like really loudly, and laughing the whole time, and like talking. And someone else was doing the thing down here, but like these 2 nurses, and one of them had my hand and the other one was on the other side. I don't know if they were nurses or what they were, but that was super awesome. I just like focused on their conversation, and so I didn't like focus on the situation at hand. And honestly, I don't even know how far along I was. Like it could have been like, it wasn't super far along, but it was, you know, I think you can't get like you have to wait till the 7th week, I think. And I'm sure it was longer than that. I'm sure it was like a little bit longer than that, but I'm not sure. It was still early, but like, you know, it took them some time to get it all out. But maybe that's normal. But then after that, we had to walk home, and it was like cold, and you know, I just had an abortion. And it was miles and miles. So I just remember like we'd walk a little, and I had to stop, And then we walked some more, and I had to stop. And Tim just such a sweet guy that like completely freaked out too. And then like we finally got back to my apartment, and where I was living with this new roommate at the time, just because I had gotten evicted from my other place. And so it was just really not comfortable situation. I had zero money because I couldn't work at the time, and it was like we were in school. I'm just really glad I didn't flunk out over that period. And then I remember just being at home, and Tim would just bring me like scraps from the kitchen or whatever, like, because he had actually was like legitimate, like in the dorms with a food card. And so he would just bring me some food. But I think it was because like I was just laying in bed and not drinking water and not eating and just being in my apartment for like a week, that when I started to go back to school like I started to get sick. So I was just getting really sick and real feverish. And then just like, I felt like I was going to die. Like it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it probably over the period of a couple days. And then we had to, like, it was an emergency situation. I remember I was at school and I was telling Tim, like, something's like this is really bad. Like, this is not normal. And so we found another student, and then we were like, I had an abortion, and like, that was the first time I'd told anyone. So it was this kid that I didn't even know. I'm like, I just had an abortion. I think I have a really bad infection. Something's really wrong, and we have to go to the emergency room. And can you please drive us? Because we can't get an emergency squad or anything. Like, just drop us off. And so then went to the emergency room. And of course, Kansas City, lots of people in the emergency room all times, like just kind of tumultuous, or whatever that word is, like just a little bit of a crazy neighborhood we lived in. And that was right when there was a lot of gang activity. So there were people that were like shot and stabbed and whatever. So but then I got into the emergency room, and that was again like a really awful experience because, so I've also like, just like, there's parts I just don't even remember, but I do remember being in the emergency room on the straps, like your foot strap things, open, just spread eagle, kind of like legs out, and like 30 people coming in, and with a class, like they're bringing a class in, they're talking about how I've had an abortion, and how now I have this infection, and here's the vagina here, and the whole time I'm just sitting. Tim wasn't in there with me. It was like I was just this lump of meat, like, here's what happens when people have abortions. And over, many classes of these people came in. It was really bad. And then I think they just gave, I don't even remember, honestly, like how it got remedied. I don't know if there was, I just really don't even remember it. But then I just remember leaving, and then antibiotics, and then I got better. So that was the first one. It was exciting. But I was very clear in my mind about like how I really wanted to have that abortion. Like, I didn't really doubt it, but like, so the story goes a little bit longer. It actually keeps going into time, because then Tim like never got to have a kid. And so that's like a sad thing on his side, because like after we broke up, like he had various girlfriends and things, and then he met this woman who he ended up marrying, and she's really awesome, but she had already had a kid from a previous thing, and she didn't want to have another one because it was a really dramatic situation where she had to put the kid up for adoption. It was really complicated. And so he never got to have a kid. So in that way, it was, like sometimes it would come up. And I think, but there's no way I would have had a kid that age. Just if you think about, there was just no way. There was just no way at all. There's no way I could have stayed in school. Nothing. Like, my parent, oh God. And like, yeah, so it was just super, like, no-brainer. So that's pretty much like that one. Yeah. So should I go into the next one? Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, like, after many years of living, I was back in Columbus, and I had broken up with somebody, and this is one of the few times I ever just had like a one-nighter with somebody. Didn't know this guy. He was just cute, whatever. Like, I think I saw him like 3 times. And I remember we were like having sex, and I said, "Do you have a condom?" And he said, "Yes, I have a condom. I'll put it on." Lied. Didn't put it on. No condom. Just had sex with me. Boom. Pregnant. So then it was afterwards that I realized he didn't have a condom, clearly, because there's stuff everywhere. So it's like, and then I was furious and left. I was like, what the fuck? And then of course I get pregnant. And so the guy, like, I just sort of knew him, but there were people in common. So we had to like track him down and make him pay for the abortion. So my friend went and like threatened him. And so it was really great. It's like, hell yeah, you're getting this fucking abortion. Like, it was, again, a no-brainer. Like, I'm getting one. You owe me. And at this point, it was like, you got to give me $500, whatever it was. And he did come up with the money, like, that morning. And then I went and had the abortion. And it was... At that point, it was my second abortion. So I just was kind of like, this is just... Fuck, I hate getting pregnant. Like, I fucking hate getting pregnant all the time. And it was just like, I felt stupid, but it was just like really like, you know, just happened because it just fucking happens because you're fucking fertile. So then I had that abortion and everything went smoothly with that. I honestly like recovered really quickly, went right back to work and it was fine. And so that was probably, I think I was 20. Yeah, I was like 24 at that point. My little one-nighter abortion disaster before the morning after pill, or I would have fucking been like CVS in the morning, or I have used the morning after pill before, which is awesome. You feel a little nauseous, but it's okay. It's way better than an abortion. But so then the last one that I had to kind of get, which I feel like is, I mean, I guess it was an abortion, but it would already had miscarried. So it's a little bit of a complicated. So then I had Camille. I had my daughter. Camille was like 4. And I had a boyfriend at the time. And again, got pregnant. Just, you know, who knows, I think I was on the pill at the time. Something didn't work, but then I was pregnant. And so I remember deciding, well, no, I'm not going to have it. And then I had a miscarriage, which was awesome. It was great. I was like, yay. But it was really early on. So it wasn't like I could just tell, like, oh my God, I'm getting like this kind of heavy period, which was great. And then I went, because I had already went to Planned Parenthood to get tested to see if I was pregnant. They said, yes, you are. I said, I would like to schedule an abortion. And they said, okay, here's the date. We need to make it this date. And then I had the miscarriage thing that happened, which was super awesome. But then they said, you should still come back in to make sure it's all out. And so that was the third one. But I felt like already it was out. And then, but they were really nice. So that was the same one that I had the first abortion in. And I have never at the time, I'd never come across any protesters ever. They didn't do that back then. Or they just didn't know where this clinic was. And all the people were super awesome too. Like, just really supportive. They had cookies, like, you know, and you could just see all the other women just like in these various states afterwards. But like the last one, it was just like, at that point I was like, okay, time to get the abortion. Like, I just had this really more casual attitude about the whole thing, and I didn't worry about it. But I could see all the other women that they were really going through these like major moments. And so like it was not a big deal for me at the time, but like you're in the environment where it's a big deal for a lot of people. But I just can't even imagine like what it would be like if now when you have to go do that you would be confronted by these people who, you know, have these are terrorists basically. So that's like a whole nother level, because you already like kind of can doubt your decisions, even though they can be really clear. There's all these other things, like I was raised Catholic, so there's all that. But, yeah. And you kind of process these things over different waves of time. But I've always felt like they were super necessary decisions. Yeah.
I guess both your abortion in Kansas City and here in Columbus, what was it like to navigate finding a clinic and getting the money together and all of that? Yeah, in Kansas City, there was a clinic, and it wasn't like, it was in the city, and it was in like the hood on, like I feel like it was near Troost, which Troost is like
the borderline in a way. Like where the school was like in an old wealthy neighborhood, but surrounded by like gang turf and gang territory. So there were a number of people we knew who were almost beaten to death, or like there was like drama around the town, that area. But then like as you went in one direction, it just got really into a bad neighborhood. But like I also worked over there, so it didn't really bother me too much. But scraping up the money, we didn't have the money. I feel like Tim had to get a lot of the money, and I think I got some money, and then we pulled the money together. There wasn't, it was, and then I didn't have any money after that. That's why I got sick. I didn't eat. There was no food. Like it was definitely a burden to get that money, but the place was there, and they were very like good, and like, we're gonna do this. Like it would have been nice to have a ride. Like that would have been great. And some kind of like follow-up care, but I don't think there was follow-up care planned. There was no scheduled, like, then you come back and we'll check and make sure everything's fine. And the second one, yeah, I mean, there's always been, in any town that I've lived in, there's been a Planned Parenthood clinic. So I've always used Planned Parenthood because I've been off and on insurance, but even when I had insurance, I went to Planned Parenthood. Like I just liked the doctor there, and I've had cryosurgery at Planned Parenthood. I've had like everything done there, like all kinds of shit. So like, I'm just like, I feel comfortable with them. I feel like their intentions are really great. And so I've just gotten really lucky that I've always found a place to go. And here there's a couple, like there's one that I did the 2 abortions at, which actually I think is closed now because they're not there anymore. But then there's now the new one on campus, which is nice. Yeah, so it wasn't too hard. Just the money is a problem. But both times, I mean, that second one, we got the guy to pay, but we had to harass him to get the money. No. But he paid it. It's from friend guilt.
So when you talked about your first abortion,
Mm-hmm.
you were in college, and
Yes.
you had to get like the money together.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like you didn't go to your family or tell your
No,
family.
no.
What made you decide
There
not to
was
do that?
no way in hell. There was just no way. Like, I didn't tell them anything, for one, ever. And my dad is a little bit of an extreme character, and they're very Catholic. And so there was no way. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't think that they could handle it. Whereas to me, like, I knew the decision. I didn't want to hear them, like, then it would have been something they would have brought up, like, relentlessly or something. Or, like, it would just become, like, they just don't understand, like, the reality of that. Like, I'm sure they probably, there was no way. And I think I finally told my mom later. And then that's when she said, oh, well, my mom had an abortion. And I was like, what? And I think even like my great aunt, and this must have been in the 40s. So I'm just like picturing the situation that would have been. Who knows? But then I was like, oh, like I probably could have told my mom, because my mom, I was really close with her, but I think she also, that I didn't want her to worry. Like, I mean, I broke my arm and never told them. And then I told them later, like, oh, by the way, I was in the hospital for 3 days. I broke my arm. Because I was, like, drunk climbing the side of a building, something stupid. But you're college, you do things like that. But yeah, my dad, I'm sure, still doesn't know at all. I don't think there's a point for him to know. Yeah. Family.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister.
Did you ever talk to them about it?
No.
Why do you want to share your story?
Because I think people should not feel bad about it. Like, it just happens. You just get pregnant because you're made to get pregnant. But, like, that's not your only point in life. And you're not just this vessel to make people. So if you happen to get pregnant, you should be able to get an abortion. And I know a lot of people feel really bad about their abortions. And that's fine, too. You feel bad. But I would like people to know that, like, a lot of people, all kinds of people get abortions, because everybody that's got a vagina will be getting pregnant, most likely. There's a percentage that there's a risk that you're going to get pregnant every time you have sex, and that women should have sex because sex is awesome. And that I think there's a shame in female sexuality that I do not like. And so I think, yes, you should have lots of sex and try to have protected sex. But like, if you do get pregnant, there's the morning after pill, which is fantastic, or you get an abortion and it's okay to do it. And like, you can feel bad about it or not. But like, I think the more people start to think that like no one's had an abortion, but like if you, anywhere you go, if there was an anonymous survey or something, like when you went in to go to the movie theater, there'd be this huge percentage. There's a percentage of people that have had abortions. Like, you just don't know it. It's the same, like I had a child who died in birth, but you would never know like how common that is until you bring it up and someone's like, oh, so, you know, I had a child die in birth. So it's like, it's just one of those things that you think doesn't happen. You think is, you're the only one or whatever, but it's really, you know, people do it for all kinds of reasons and different times in their lives. And that you just do it. It's fine.
Do you share it often?
Yeah. If anyone talks about abortion, I'm like, I've had 2.5, well, kind of 3 abortions. Yeah. I'm really out with it. Like if it comes up, I will say I've had an abortion. If we're talking about, if we're in class and someone talks about like anything related to like getting pregnant or something comes up and it's like, oh, did you read the article on Planned Parenthood, something? And I'm like, oh yeah, I support Planned Parenthood. I've had 2 abortions. It just like normalizes it. Like, we should always just like, you don't have to, but like to me, I have no problem sharing that information. And it's probably now because I'm old and I don't care. You know, get older, you just do whatever you want. But like, yeah. So now I feel really open about sharing it. I feel like anyone who hears that I've had it, it helps them to feel like, oh, other people have had it. Like, I just realized, like, because when I heard my grandma had one, then I was like, oh, like, that's cool. I mean, I've known women that have 4 abortions. You know, just like, however many, whatever it is, like, yeah, just, it's good to know that that's all different kinds of people have to do that.
Do you think that, because you live in Ohio.
Yes.
Do you feel like safe sharing that kind of information?
Yeah, actually, well, I thought about like, when the Planned Parenthood things were going on like a month ago or 2, there was a moment, and I can't remember what that was exactly. They had the I Stand With Planned Parenthood thing, and then I remember putting that on, and then I remember thinking like, I just really want to say like, I have had these abortions at these times, and if anyone wants to ask me about it, private message me. I will tell you all about it. Abortions happen. Like, I just wanted to put it on my Facebook, but then the only thing that kept me from doing that was like, you know, like my family members, and I was like, those fucking family members are such a burden, like, to my free speech. But I would totally be out, and I know people then receive hate mail and things, and so I just feel like, I think that the more people that say it out loud in others in these different situations is going to then make it harder to pinpoint one person. You know, so I think you could expect hate back, for sure. Yeah, but I think it'd be worth it. Yeah.
As always, for more information about the Abortion Diary podcast, visit us on the web at theabortiondiary.com or email me with your questions or comments. If you would like to share your story, send me an email at melissa@theabortiondiary.com or visit our website, click on Share Your Abortion Story, and fill out our contact form. If you're a fan of the podcast and would like to help us reach more folks, please subscribe on iTunes and write a review or rate this podcast. Your reviews and ratings will help us grow in the iTunes rankings and reach more people. I would also love to hear from you. You can also follow The Abortion Diary on Twitter or Facebook. And The Abortion Diary can't continue without your support. Support The Abortion Diary by making a tax-deductible donation to us on Fractured Atlas, or buying some of our wristbands or totes on Store Envy. And a special thanks to you for listening. I'll be back next week with a new story.